Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Galactic Ambition, a Star Wars Unlimited podcast, part of the Maindeck podcast family. I'm Dan.
And I'm Jason, and we have a guest. My cat, Sabrina's just chilling right behind me. You guys probably can't see her because the way she's cropped, but she's like totally ignoring me right now. But
I'm glad you remember
you guys are in Steam
the way
company.
I crop the videos.
Yeah, one day we'll see her, but she's just hanging out. But I'm so happy to be back and talking with you, Dan. It's been a while.
Yes, it's been a little bit. We unfortunately ended up just totally missing the episode a couple weeks ago because personal reasons, but everyone's worked through things. We're all good now. We are back on schedule. And we are, Jason, you and I right now are living the Star Wars Unlimited life. Like,
yes,
we just had set release and that's what we're talking about today, right? We're just going to be chatting about our experiences with the pre-release, with the release, people's reactions, opening product, polls, just all that kind of. This is basically just like our personal celebration of the release of the game.
Yeah, it's been a very exciting week and a half, almost 2 weeks now, of just anticipation for the pre-releases. The pre-release is happening. Everyone brewing their first decks locally. New people talking about it. We just thought it'd be really cool to kind of just recap what everybody's been chatting about, what we've had a lot of fun with, and what we're looking forward to in the next few weeks.
Absolutely. So before we jump into that, I just do have to mention, of course, that if you do appreciate the Maindeck podcast family, including Galactic Ambition, there's a couple ways you can show your appreciation. Like, comment, subscribe on the video. If you're listening on a podcast app like Spotify, a little 5-star review certainly would not hurt. In fact, it would help us quite a bit. So we'd really appreciate that. And if you're on the lookout right now for the very volatile and active Star Wars Unlimited TCG singles market, you're probably heading to tcgplayer.com. If you're in the States, at least if you're in the US, Star Wars Unlimited is a global game, so who knows? But if you're in the States, you're probably heading to tcgplayer.com. And there, instead of going to tcgplayer.com, just remember this, type bit.ly/shoptcgs, bit.ly/shoptcgs. It'll go to tcgplayer.com, but any purchase you make there, get a small kickback sent back to Maindeck. And we greatly, greatly appreciate everybody who shops that way to help support the channel and the podcast. So thank you so much for your support. Now, Jason, okay, so we had pre-releases, we had product opening, we had our first kind of like constructed events, open play events. Tell me, how has I've been playing a lot of Star Wars Unlimited prior to this on like Force Table and like the community event and everything. So you have finally like really gotten inundated in the game now without not just sitting around kind of anticipating. So what's your experience been like with Star Wars Unlimited at release now?
Well, to be completely honest, it was everything I thought it would from the demo and a lot more just really because of the excitement of everybody. The gameplay itself, I obviously I'm familiar with the cards. I know what's going on with all that, keeping track of decks, stuff like that. But I'm just kind of a Luddite in the sense that I want the cards in my hand, in front of me. I want the cards. I don't want to play with it that way. And then I could do online avenues, all that good stuff. It's just, I don't know. Personal preference. I know some people have been playing for months, and as spoiler list comes down, and as we got the set list for the release, brewing up everything that's already the best in the format, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, at least on the outset. I'm not one of those people. I'm a firm believer that once I have it in my hand, I have it, and now it's a thing. It
doesn't exist until then.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's not real. It was a really kind of a whirlwind weekend, actually, for my pre-releases. I was out of town. I was on vacation. And went in North Carolina and actually played in my pre-releases up there in a completely different state, completely different community. And that in itself was wild in itself. But it was, I think for me, my initial excitement and expectations were met and exceeded for sure.
Excellent. Our local area had a bunch of pre-releases. We have 3 shops in our area who are supporting the game with C3OP organized play. And I was familiar with 2 of them and their release schedule. The other one, I wasn't sure how they did pre-releases, but unfortunately, I was unable to go to the Friday, Saturday, Sunday pre-releases, that like kind of the main pre-release weekend for most people, the first time they could run them. I was unable to go to those because I was down at Grand Archive Nationals in Houston, competing in that. And I okay, I'm not like going to call a store out or anything, but when I was down there, I was thinking, in between rounds, if I can go like snag a pre-release kit or something, that would not suck. However, they had that store that we were at for that had absolutely no support for Star Wars Unlimited whatsoever. There was nobody there. There was no product. I was like, you guys are missing out. You guys are missing out on something right now. You're missing out, first of all, on $30 from me.
Yeah, that's $30. Right there. They're just leaving money on the table in the proverbial trash can.
$30 is $30. Yeah, exactly. But I do think one thing that I want to talk about with you, Jason, is in the weeks leading up to the release here. Wait, before I get too off topic, I did get to play in a pre-release. One of our stores held one Thursday night leading to a midnight product release. So that was when I finally got to. I was so excited when they put it on the schedule. I'm like, yes, I can make that one. I went in. I think we had 15 players still for that one for a late night Thursday night after having a weekend full of them before. A bunch of new people who were only at that one and weren't at the other ones too. I was helping people learn the game a lot. It was just a ton of fun. And we'll talk more about that in a minute. But the weeks leading up to these pre-releases, Jason, I'm sure you noticed there have been a lot of stores that were suddenly posting, oh, by the way, we're doing a pre-release for this game. That's what I was seeing.
Especially down here. It was wild. Right at the finish line. Like, oh, cool. This store that I didn't even know existed is having an event and they could support X amount of people and you need to go call them now. And I'm just like, there's not enough days in the week.
Yeah. Yep, I was listening to Ice Cave Radio talking about how they had I think Flake from Toronto had a similar experience where like suddenly like the week before they're like, oh, actually, yep, no, we're supporting it. Here's a pre-release. Like, come on down. It's been really interesting, the Star Wars Unlimited. And the reason for this, I mean, we're going back to some of our first Unlimited videos on Main Deck and some of our first podcast episodes talking about how Fantasy Flight Games just has this old reputation that was, I think, causing some stores who didn't kind of understand necessarily that it's a different group of people running this with different goals, different ambitions, galactic ambitions, even, if you will, who are, in my estimation, producing a different product that should have different expectations. But I also understand from the LGS, as I'm sure you do, Jason, the LGS perspective of like, you're looking out for your own skin, right? You're all you can really do is use the information you have in the past, because every new card game comes out. It doesn't matter which one. Every single one comes out and says, yeah, we're the hot new thing. Like, this is the thing. And all you can really do in an LGS owner perspective is look at it and go, I don't know. Like, let me just see what happened in the past and try and make my best guess. But I was excited to see that as we got really close to the pre-release, a bunch of stores thought, oh, wait, actually, like, I'm getting a bunch of calls, like, that maybe this is actually something, and they hop on, they get their kits, they're delivered on time, because FFG has the product in the distributor's hands, they're shipping out, like, here, we're hours away from Asmodee, where I am, so our stores get things next day, if they need them, which is really sick, but even then, Asmodee and Southern get pretty fast delivery to everyone in the country at that point, and, yeah, I thought that was really encouraging to see all these popping up.
Yeah, same thing except we didn't get our product on time in one of our stores. Not at the end of the world kind of situation. We didn't get the second half of our order. So we had enough to do an 8-person flight at one event. And then we actually hosted another event this past Friday for the people who couldn't play or just people who wanted to, and just did it again. And just so people could have it. And cool. It was a really cool make good by the distributors and all that to make sure that we got our product and a little bit of extra stuff for everybody. We had a couple deck boxes that we were able to give away and stuff like that. So even though we didn't get it on time, it was still made good, and it was a very great first impression. And then as far as the stores popping up, it's funny because at the store I frequent down here in, OFLA, it was just me and one other person who were even interested in the game. So my local game store was like, okay, they went on the lowest tier of the retailer pledges because they didn't know what was going to happen. Right. And then like the week leading up to it, it was just the Discord blowing up. Are you guys having a Star Wars event? How many people are a Star Wars event? I've got 4 people that want to come to the Star Wars event. And we're just like, we had the wall cling. We had a standee in the store that we printed to talk about it. And where was it then? But it's great. And I think some stores underestimated how popular that it was going to be, because we had another store that had to turn people away. for the release events because they were out.
Which is really unfortunate.
It is really unfortunate, but it also goes to show like you can't discount the power of the IP itself. And that's, and I kind of talk about it more as we detail kind of how our launch events and everything went. Just underestimating that by itself, I think, left some more of that money on the table for some local game stores, or they might have been caught with, their hand in the cookie jar on that, unable to support that. And, it's a bad thing at first. The strain's not there, but now they know, and hopefully they're going to support it for all those people. At least for me, I hope they support it so those people have a place to play at.
The nice thing about this launch of this card game in particular is that FFG appears to have done a good job of estimating the amount of product, even given this like surge in interest. Like, I think this would have been problematic if the FFG and Asmodee expectation was similar to the retailers, right?
Yeah.
Because then you get this surge of interest because turns out the Star Wars IP is still popular. Like, who would have guessed? But then they have the surge of interest, and then you end up with, like, if there isn't enough product, then you end up with what we saw with Lorcana last year. Just like crazy surging prices. Interesting, like, aside, watching the two communities talk about each other's events. They have different takes on who's doing what and for what reason and everything. And it's just, that's been kind of fun and interesting to watch. But I'm excited that Lorcana's got their product flowing at a reasonable rate now where people go pick it up. And I'm just as excited personally more excited just because of my interest in it. But that Star Wars Unlimited product is out there. People can still right now go to their LGS and pick up product. So there was, in fact, excuse me, got a little frog in my throat, or a little Yoda in my throat. No, what's the name of a frog? There's like the frog people in The Mandalorian. I can't remember their name though. I don't know. Anyway, that'd be a dumb joke anyway.
It wouldn't have been that dumb. It's okay.
Thank you. That makes me feel better. As a small aside, just related to this, there had been sort of a rumor, or not necessarily a rumor. I think it was just a fact that was being stated that was going around that, to the point of like watching how retailers and others had underestimated this game. Southern Hobby, who is sub-distributing through Asmodee, it had been reported from some of the retailers in the groups that Southern had actually run out of their order. To explain this, so there are going to be people out there, because I know we're talking about this in a little bit, but the number of new TCG players in the Star Wars Unlimited space is crazy, actually, like incredibly, encouragingly crazy. I love it so much. So for people who are new to the TCG space, the way this typically works is that you've got a company that publishes a game. They publish Star Wars Unlimited. That company can't handle shipping that product to all of the stores in the world. That just doesn't work. They don't have logistically the warehousing, the people, all this stuff. It just they can't do that. So they go through distribution, which is the same thing that happens in retail of like everything. Right. But the way that the distribution then works is there's a lot of different ways it can work. There's a bunch of businesses that are considered distributors, to retail distributors, brick and mortar, wholesale distributors. So they will buy the product at its wholesale price from the company, and then they will sell it slightly marked up, so they get their little cut of everything to then your retailer, and then your retailer marks it to MSRP or wherever the heck they want to. And then they sell it to you. That's the basic model. What we had in this case was Asmodee. Actually, Asmodee is the company who owns Fantasy Flight, and they are thus the publishers of the game as well. Fantasy Flight created it, and then Asmodee prints it and everything, and so they go through Cardamundi, actually. It's so complicated. But the point is, Asmodee is getting it printed for them and then ships it off. But the Asmodee actually also, they opened up their own distribution thing. That was like a decade or more ago. They opened that up. It became a big thing. But so they have their own distribution center. But because they expected popularity here, and because they wanted to rely on other expertise as well, and other distribution networks, because distributors, they'll like talk to retailers. They literally will call up the retailers and be like, hey, there's a cool game coming. Do you want it? And they'll cold call, they'll solicit their distributors who they normally work with, or their retailers they normally work with, and just try and get them to carry their stuff because they're trying to sell stuff too. So Asmodee made an agreement with Southern Hobby, which is one of the major distributors in the US also, for a sub-distribution agreement, meaning that Asmodee, who is already a distributor, is going to then distribute at what we assume to be like maybe like a middle ground cost between what they normally distribute it at to Southern, who would then distribute it out. So they're basically just getting a little cut of the pie and helping and getting the product distributed to their retailers. So long explanation, because otherwise you're going to take, I think people take the wrong information from this, but the point is that Southern then ordered through Asmodee a whole bunch of Star Wars Limited product, more than a store, because they are supporting lots of stores. But they went with their best estimate of what they thought they'd need, and they ran out the week of launch. Not later, like just immediately. They're like, whoops, we're out. Had to then go to Asmodee and get more shipped to them so that they could ship to more of their stores. So that, when I heard that, I was like, that is an encouraging thing to hear, because even Southern couldn't quite, who's extremely experienced at, they generally know exactly what they need, right? For product needs for everyone. They underestimated the amount of excitement that people had for Star Wars Unlimited, and Asmodee thankfully had the product so that it still is at a good price. Everyone can pick it up. So that was not a small aside, but I think it's an interesting one.
It was like a medium aside. But I don't know how it is for you locally, but I'm still able to go to 2 shops in the area and just buy a booster pack right now. Which when we went to there's one there's one that has a restock coming this week, mainly because they underestimated the interest wasn't there until it started from the local player base. But it's really nice to just go, hey, I could just go pick up a booster pack or 2 or whatever, or all of everything but the tokens. I think the tokens have been like everywhere. Like it's been hard for us to get those, which is it's a good problem to have, and I hope we'll get more. But it's been a nice, refreshing thing, especially coming from drops of other games in the past couple months or even years or so, where it's like, okay, well, now I'm waiting 2-3 weeks for maybe a chance at more product, which, most of those places games were growing pains or just understanding the logistics of how that stuff all works and goes down to getting it to your player bases. So it's actually been refreshing, and it's really cool to kind of dig into that to see that, a distributor of this product didn't underestimated how much they were going to be able to sell through when, they've had their skin in the game and doing this for Lord knows how long.
Yeah, it is, I think, really encouraging, and it's a tricky thing for a publisher to get right, because the publisher, I mean, if they underprint, then we end up with situations like we saw in Lorcana, where people can't get into the game, to the point where like our LGS, when Lorcana launched, tried to run like weekly leagues, but people weren't showing up because there was just no product. They couldn't build decks. They couldn't receive packs for playing, even though our LGSs were like allocating their packs and like just trying to make sure people could get them. But our LGSs all totally ran out and then just couldn't run events. And it's I think it's difficult. It would be difficult to say that didn't impact the momentum of that game in our area. I think it's built back up a little bit now, which is great. But when you overprint, there's a point you can overprint to that is problematic in that, like, it causes the price of the product to drop drastically. That happened with Battle Spirits last year. Their products, every store had way too much product in because nobody wanted to buy it. But the thing is, it's not just a question of how much the company prints. It's the comparison between how much the company prints and the demand for the product. And one thing that I like about being on the overprinting side of the equation is that when people can readily acquire product from their store, then they are able to play the game and show their friends and play the game with their friends. And it gives the game a chance to stand on its own merits a little bit and pull itself up by its own bootstraps,
There you go.
And say, like if you get the product to people and then they play the game, like, wow, this is a really good game, which has been my experience about 100% of the time with Star Wars Unlimited. Then those people you create demand in those people just by the virtues of your game being good and sort of selling itself, which is something that is really problematic. Of like, just to I'll point to a game other than Lorcana for once. Let's talk about like One Piece for a second, which came out last year, the year before, December of the year before. One Piece released, and if you wanted to buy anything on release weekend, good luck, because it was totally sold out after at pre-release. Basically, nobody could get product. It was severely underprinted. You could play the game. You could you show the game to people, and then and you go, yeah, like, do you like it? Like, yeah, cool, I like it. Can I buy it? No.
No, you can play with these 20 card demo decks and like it.
Yeah, and then that's like One Piece certainly isn't wanting for players right now. It's it certainly has done a good job of like, people have just been excited and they wanted to play it. They've been feral in a way for One Piece and just want to buy the product immediately for exorbitant prices. But I mean, I do think, again, like, if that game had ended up on the printing a little bit more, then often there's a self-correction that takes place where then, like, okay, then that helps the people get in, and then they buy more product, and that helps them get other people in, and then they buy more product, and it kind of corrects back to where it needs to go. So I like when a company leans this direction, is ultimately what I'm saying. I'd prefer this to them underprinting. Yeah,
it's a lot easier to get people interested in something when you have the product to sell them or let them peruse. The worst thing about launches and stuff like One Piece, when especially it's we always bring it back to the IP, but it's important when it's a beloved IP, whether it's anime, popular culture, media, etc. If the IP is popular, people are going to flock to it. But the one thing, at least in my mind, is I need a carrot to chase, in a sense. If I can't chase that white whale of getting a booster pack or something like that, then my interest goes down a bit. You can only play with starter decks and demo decks for so long before you lose interest. They're starter decks and demonstration decks for a reason. That's what the long form of the word demo is. If for nobody who didn't know that, I figure I would enlighten everybody.
I thought it was demolition decks.
Yeah, demolition decks. it's a common misconception. But you can only use those for so long when you're like, okay, well, the shine kind of wears off. When can I use my deck building brain to build something myself, or get access to other cards and other characters and other things that I enjoy about the IP or the game itself. So it's really nice that we're not really dealing with that. And there's not a lot of stories of that, especially on like the public forums like Facebook, et cetera. You don't see, I can't find this in my local area. You say, I'm a new player. I've seen a couple of, I saw this in my local game store and picked up a couple packs, or I picked up a starter deck. Whereas with these other games, they drop, good luck. Good luck getting a starter deck. Good luck getting a booster box. I remember, not going back to Lorcana, but it's the most recent thing. Getting a box of the base of Lorcana, we opened it up. And we basically were fortunate enough to, me and my friends all pulled our cards together as this one card pool. And we were able to build 3 different, but at least semi-viable decks. And our first league week, it was us 3. And then 2 people with starter decks. And then people, unfortunately, couldn't get product because people who bought it either didn't come out to play or buying it for other means, such as, making some profit, if you will,
right.
Which we thankfully, I haven't seen a lot of that yet. And I think it's mostly just been a lot of excitement to play, and the accessibility has been fantastic.
I think an interesting thing that happened with Star Wars Unlimited, where, and I'm kind of just speculating a little bit at this point, so take this with a grain of salt, but I have my ear to the ground in a lot of different TCG communities, including TCG communities that are more focused on things like quote unquote investing, or you could put it that way. You could also call it flipping, scalping, just short-term money making, basically. Exploitation in some cases, not always, but sometimes. So I feel like, again, speculation, but I feel like there was actually a positive benefit to this reputation, let's put it that way, that Fantasy Flight had, where a lot of the people who would be interested in trying to peg a release as being potentially a good one to flip and make value on, shied away from Star Wars Unlimited a little bit, and weren't saying, oh, like this is obviously the hot new thing. It was like, honestly, this was like a perfect storm, I feel like, for a TCG release, where it was a bit underestimated, but the distributors were ready. The distributors were soliciting to stores. So the stores knew exactly what to do when they found out, oh, wait, no, there's actually interest in this. The product was there. And then all of the actors who can, I try to be really careful with this. The actors who can be bad actors. In this case, there's some people just buy it just to like, yeah, they're like, I'm just going to hold a case back here. Like, I've got no problem with you just holding on, like, whatever, that's fine. Or 30 cases or whatever like that. There's gonna be one or two people who do that. And that's not a big deal. It's the people who jump in and be like, I know this is going to be expensive, so I'm just going to buy out my store and then immediately put it on eBay and sell it for like it's just making it difficult for people to get into the game. But the thing is, those people just they weren't interested in that, and then there was just plenty of product, and it released, and then there's still plenty of product, and so like there's no point in trying to do anything like that either. So what we ended up with was a release that was really just for the players. Everyone got to jump in and play and collect their favorite cards, and showcases are out, and they're at high prices, but I mean, compared to other games, they're not unreasonable prices. They're ones you can actually like, oh, you know, I'll save up a little bit and I'll get a showcase for my favorite character. And cool. That's so good. I love that.
Yeah. Or you could just pull one, you know,
or, well, yeah, some of us
can just pull them, you know. No, but yeah, you're exactly right. It really was kind of the perfect storm. We didn't have the less than desirable actions of people buying a case, and the people who are trying to flip that stuff, there is no sealed boxes flipping. You can't, because you could just go buy it from a retailer, or, you know, it's still in stock in a lot of places. And it just feels really nice to not have to experience that, especially in other games I've tried to get into recently. And it's a good feeling, and it's especially good as we're putting so many new eyes and new players into a TCG base. They don't have to worry about that either, and have to deal with that trepidation of, oh, am I going to be able to get this? Am I going to be able to build a deck? Or am I going to pull the characters I want, or even get product?
Let's actually use that as a springboard to talk about that topic. I think that is one of the things that I have been upon seeing the release of the game, watching the community, reading our comments on the videos we posted, everything. Like, one of the things that has made me so encouraged and excited, because, you know, as I've said, the point of Maindeck is to spread the joy of the trading card game hobby with people. And like, it's wonderful. I would for the rest of my life, I would talk with my close friends who love TCGs about TCGs and enjoy that greatly. But there's nothing I enjoy more than actually getting to show someone, here's what I love about this hobby. And then they get excited about it too, for the first time. So at our pre-release, I mean, I think at our pre-release, actually, the one I was at, there were a few new players who were new to TCGs, and then there were a bunch of players who I hadn't seen in forever, because the last time I saw them was Star Wars Destiny. Oh, wow. So they came back for they're excited about another Star Wars game. But I got to show them, but they had their kids with them, which was really cool. Who were playing a game for the first time. So I got to explain to them, oh, you know, like, wow, look at your pool. You got like, I said this during this, our case opening stream, but one of the Destiny players' kids was there, and their pre-release 6 booster pack pool had 2 Cunning, the legendary, a Vigilance legendary, and a Luke legendary.
Dang.
I was like,
cool.
You're playing blue yellow.
Yeah, no kidding. Wow.
Yeah, it's wild. But I got to personally just kind of explain a lot of things to people, answer questions, help make sure everybody had a fun time playing. The person running it, Dana joined for an old Maindeck podcast episode a couple of years ago too. If anyone remembers, it was our one on, I think, Magic the Gathering at end of the year. But he's a longtime friend of mine. He was running the event, and, you know, we were doing best 2 out of 3, but a couple of those new players were having trouble quite finishing games, and it was just super chill. He was just like, you know what, for you guys, best of 1 is fine. Just go ahead and do that. Like, take all the stress off their shoulders. Just be like, take the time you need to play. And everyone just kind of had a fun time. And the store did a good job keeping it that way, which was awesome.
Yeah, I think that was kind of what the most important thing. I think you and I, just to kind of as an aside, really enjoy the whole teaching and kind of showing people and imparting, about the game. How like for me, there's the old saying, "Those who can't do teach," because I'm going to be going 0-4, 0-5, whatever. No, I'm kidding. To an extent, no. I a lot of my passion in the trading card game space is growing the community and building people up and enveloping new people into the game. And in the second pre-release I went to in the weekend, there was a lot of people with their kids, kind of like you mentioned, for the first time, playing a card game together for the first time. Maybe they played Pokemon, stuff like that. The one family I was sitting next to had never, dad was a big Star Wars fan. They'd never been in the trading card space. And they were just super amped up to be there. They were just going over each card as they pulled it and we're talking about it. And then at this store, the guy who was running it was kind of like, the store was massive. I don't know. It was huge. I hadn't been in a store like that in a while. And you could tell that they were like, okay, we just want to get this roll and get it done. And I was like, okay, guys, let's take a minute. And oh man, that's so cool. Let's see what you have there and try to get them a deck together and stuff like that. And then, it was just really cool. And it was pretty laid back, except for my pool was disgusting. I took no prisoners. I pulled the Cheer It showcase I posted on Twitter in my first pack right in the window. I was like, oh, sick. And then my buddy, who I travel in town, was like, well, you pulled it, you have to play it. I was like, okay, sure. So open up the rest of my pool. A Redemption, a Luke, 2 Obi-Wan, a Vigilance. Yeah, I should have posted a picture of the deck. It was absolutely filthy.
You should have.
It was easily the easiest event I had ever played in. I just like, cool, can I make it to like turn 5 or 6? I did. Very good. Obi-Wan. Yep. Luke, I was playing like 2 Cargo Juggernaut because whatever, I'll just heal some more, whatever. And I was just like beating people with Luke, and it was a lot of fun. And I think like you said, to kind of circle back, building up the new community was a highlight of the pre-release weekend for me.
Yeah, and it's not just been in our local communities, although I have seen in my local community a number of people who are quite new, and it's just been really fun to I open so much product. I'm just like, if there are commons or uncommons you need, just let me know. Mm-hmm. You will have anything you need to play. I don't want you to not have those. If you need rares, I have a lot of them, and we're easily able to just like work out small things. Or someone's like, I just need a Job of the Hut. I'm like, here, I have a Job of the Hut. Like, I got like 10. It's fine. But otherwise, I'm just telling people. I know like a lot of you are just trying to build collections. I'm just disgustingly into these hyperfoils. If you have any extra hyperfoils, just like, I will fill your list. Just send a hyperfoil my way, and then you get everything you need. So that's been a lot of fun too. As I've been working out those deals, I did not get lucky enough to pull a showcase like Mr. Jason did, but one of our locals posted right away in our kind of new, they took the old Destiny Discord and they like slapped a new name on it. It's now the Unlimited Discord. Sweet. And they posted they made a trades channel as he posted a trade list, and he was like, and I have 1 Leia showcase and I need all this stuff. And I was like, why are you trading your Leia showcase? He was like, I got 2. Oh, okay, cool. So now I have a Leia showcase.
Hey, let's go.
So yeah, so that like the nice thing is that I opened so much product that I was able to just kind of fill his list. He got one of my Vaders. He got a whole bunch of, I think he got one of my Fets too. He got a Vader and a Fet and a bunch of other stuff. He got like, I was like, what rares do you need? You will have them all, every single rare. And then I filled in a bunch of legendaries and stuff. And now I'm the proud owner of a Leia showcase, and I'm very excited about that. Even though I don't think I'm playing Leia in Constructed, in Premiere, because I don't like playing aggro. I like beating aggro.
Right.
But what I figure is that if not now, at some point, I'll be able to build a really sweet, like Rebel focused Twin Suns deck with this. And if not, this art's just amazing. I just want
it's super sick.
I just want to have it.
That's a sick pickup.
So that was that was like kind of roundabout, but that's been sort of our experience in just sort of like my ability to just build the community is very high because I have all these cards that I can just hand out to people now. I plan to like actually take some of these commons and uncommons, maybe slap together some like really simple decks and just be like, if we see anyone interested, be like, well, here you go, have a common uncommon deck, and you can sit down and play, and that's yours. You can keep it. And I think the game sells itself pretty well to new players already. Mechanically, it's really great, but even on the table, as much as people like to malign the artwork sometimes, I mean, I read all my YouTube comments, right?
Yes.
Like we get people who take things very personally, including artwork choice in card games, which is always a little funny to me. But this game pops off the table. You put it on the table, and because of all the colors they use and the bright artwork and everything, people are always stopping by and going, "Oh, what's that?" And like I even saw people on this last Friday, where one of our locals was firing up, and I was just chilling Wednesday. It was Wednesday. This just is Wednesday. I was chilling and finishing the trade for that showcase actually, and some people came in for Magic that night. And Dana was there running. He said, well, we got Magic, we got Star Wars. And they're like, there's a Star Wars game? And then they had to go check it out and everything. I didn't get to see what happened after that, but if I were hanging out there, they would have had decks in their hands and we would have got going. So I think it's going to continue to catch on as well, which I'm very excited for.
Yeah, there's a lot of appeal from other card game communities just because a lot of us just want to play something new. Like I don't have the attachment to Star Wars as other people. I literally am on the opposite spectrum. I enjoy it, but I'm not hardcore into the ethos or anything like that. But I was like, oh, this game is sick. So, and that's where it got me. And I also got another guy because last night they were doing a Magic draft, I think, at the store we were at, and kind of the same thing. Oh, what are you guys doing over here? We're like, we're playing Star Wars. He's like, oh, okay. And then we kind of explained the game. He's like, oh, what? He's like, that's super sick. And then he's like, I need a starter deck and we need to do this. And I'm like, it's midnight. I want to go home, but no problem. Let's get you going. And we were out at like 1 o'clock, but it was good. It was fine. It was worth it. We all had a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's great. I love that. I love stores jumping on board. I love new players coming in too. Like we posted this week, a video that I just had a feeling about because I've been watching the community. And I was like, I'm seeing a lot of people posting questions that clearly, just based on my understanding of card games and card game rules, these are ones that typically people ask if it's like their first card game and they're just trying to get their head around like how rules tend to work in games. And I thought, I feel like we could use a video out here that's going to just like, because we have a rules video, but the rules of the game and the rules for if resolving effects in the game are kind of different things. Like the how to play video just explains how the core rules work. But when you start playing, like if you're not familiar with card games, all these questions start cropping up. You don't quite understand necessarily. Well, wait, how do I resolve this? Am I looking for this to have certain text, or am I assuming it has certain rules meaning behind it and everything? And I think we could just use a video, and now there's going to be a second one. I'm almost done scripting out the second one too. Based on just the comments that I got on that video, but that video blew up compared to our normal videos for Star Wars, clearly showing that people were looking for some more rules clarification, and I think just kind of hammering home that yes, this is a game filled with players who are new and excited about TCGs, and I want to say, I just want to bring this kind of home. That to me is the best place for a TCG to be. I think what you in the market right now, in the TCG market, there are at this point over 30 TCGs in regular distribution. That went down by one when MetaZoo died, but it's gone up by at least 2 since then.
Dang. What a shame. What a shame.
Rest in something. So there are over 30 TCGs. When you are a publisher of a TCG, what you don't want is for your audience to be entirely people who are invested in other TCGs or are used to investing in other TCGs, because often those players are going to be ones that will be sometimes fair weather players jumping in and out based on whatever, like, oh, new Flesh and Blood set came out, I'm back to focusing on that. There'll be ones that are just looking for whatever is the hot new thing. They just want that new experience. That's sort of like from the board game world, the cult of the new. idea where they just all they want to do is try the new game for a little bit and then wait for the next new game and then try the new game for a little bit. But when you get these players who are into your game because you have an IP that appeals to them, and they thought, oh wow, I could try a TCG for that. Some of those will be like that, but you also have a chance for some of those players to be like, well, this is my thing. This is now my thing. I'm just doing this for now. I'm doing the Star Wars. I like Star Wars. You have the people who are in there because they just love the IP. This like the same kind of people who are into like One Piece. They're just like, I like the IP. I'm going to play the game. Doesn't matter how it plays. I want Star Wars. And you're going to build out the most important, that understated, most important audience of every TCG, which is that casual audience. You're the people who are not just looking for whatever TCG is offering the best cash prizes or whatever at any point, which are important people to have too. Don't get me wrong. But you are you're just building out this group of people who are like, yeah, I just like this. This is fun. I like to have fun with it. And I'll, and I'll buy some packs from my local every couple of weeks. Those people are keeping the lights on at the locals. They're buying the product. They're showing their friends. They're just hanging out with their friends, and they don't talk a lot because they're not obsessed like we are necessarily about TCGs, but they are there. And I don't know necessarily that a casual audience is always there for a TCG until I see stuff like this, where I see people who are not just those hardcore TCG hopping players, but they're the ones who are just more there for the experience. That to me shows me, okay, there's casual interest here. That's really good.
Yeah, and to circle back to kind of like what you're discussing with your rules video, which is, it was really good, by the way. I actually watched it today. I'm a little behind the curve. But I watched it today.
you just learned how to play today?
Yeah, no, I'm watching your video.
The new one, not the how to play. I got confused for a second. I'm like,
no, the how to play.
I
think of it. No, I think it's really great to have these new people and new experiencing, or even people who played card games having these questions. And something that I guess to get on the soapbox for a second, and not to be negative, but that we could all do as community people is understand that no question is a stupid question. There are people who are posting questions in various groups and in Discords and stuff. And I would like to stress, just as a person, if you're the one being negative or acting like it should be obvious about something, then maybe you should take a minute and delete that comment before you post it. We want to try to always foster a welcoming, understanding community. And I think it's great that we all want to help each other, but understand that there are new people and they might have been nervous to even ask a question or anything like that. So it's nice to have a space where to go over these kind of rules interactions. And if you know something, be nice about it. Welcome people. We want to grow the community. We don't want to turn anybody off. And also, it doesn't make you look, any cooler or anything like that.
It makes you look less cool. There's a phrase that is used in that type of response commonly, which is reading the card explains the card.
Yes.
Which is a phrase that is used disparagingly 100% of the time. Sometimes self-disparagingly. Like
yes.
I'll say it about myself, but
time.
Only about myself.
To me,
only about myself. Right?
Same thing.
But when you say it to someone else, you're doing nothing but condescending to them, only for the purpose of making yourself feel better or laughing at someone's expense or something. And the thing that just like irks me so much about this phrase is that it's not even true.
No.
I have to point to one card in Star Wars Unlimited, which was featured right away in that rules video because of how commonly this question gets asked, which is Energy Conversion Lab, which states that you can play a unit with 6 cost or less and it gains ambush this turn. And reading that card as a new player does not explain that card enough.
No.
It has reminder text because in card games, the rules have subtext behind them. The rules, they can't write everything about a card effect out on the card. They can't do that. There's too many things you have to know about how to resolve effects to be able to have space for that on cards. So at some point they have to shorten them. So one thing they shorten in the keyword play is that you have to pay the cost. Which when you don't have to, the card will say it. It's part of the rules video. We go over that. If you don't have to, the card will say it. But that is not something that is immediately obvious to people, because people will just interpret these card wordings, and they'll take their best guess at things sometimes, because they might be newer, or they might be used to another game system. They might be an extremely experienced player who's just used to a different TCG. And in that TCG, when something said you could play it, it just happened for free. And like, it's so ridiculous to me to tell people reading the card explains the card, because I mean, literally there's no point to adding that extra text other than putting someone down. And it's not even true. So when I see people earnestly say that to other people, I get judgy, not about the person who asked the question at all. I get judgy about the person who's taking what could have been a chance to give someone a good day and help them, and using it selfishly just to make themselves laugh or something. Like, that bothers me. I called someone out on Facebook earlier this week, actually. So
it's just, I don't know, man. Maybe I'm just I don't know. I'm boring. I don't know, or I'm a decent human being. There it is.
I think that's the one. Yeah,
that might be it. But again, especially to throw back all of our time doing the Dragon Ball rulings down. Those were a lot of fun ones where people would just, what a great group of people. Non-sarcastically, he says.
There were
there were a great group of people. But when it came to rules, it was a whole other Calvin Ball situation.
Sometimes it got a little out of hand. And sometimes people have like ways of acting with their friends that are different than how they should act in a public space.
Yes.
Some people don't realize that either.
So to circle back to your video, do you have, to put you on the spot, did you, like, I know you're making a second video. Was there like a common theme in the questions people were asking, or anything that surprised you about that? Just because you said it, now I'm like, it's a good, I was just thinking about that.
I'll pull up my document here. So the thing that I found really funny about this video, one thing about doing YouTube is you'll have an idea for a video and you'll post it out there, and then you never know what's going to happen next. You just don't.
Yeah.
I can sometimes have a pretty good guess. If I put it on an ultimate how to play video, I know it's going to, as long as I don't personally fail at making it, I know it's going to do pretty well. It's going to get plenty of views, and I'm going to get a lot of positive comments. That's so sometimes it's pretty simple. When I put on a video like this, I just kind of had the idea, spur of the moment. I recorded it quick. I did a little bit of editing. I have sort of a template I use for that type of video, and I just kind of popped everything in and changed the text and put in some pictures and whatever, got it, threw it up there. And I was like, who knows? This might get 100 views. It might get 5,000 views in 2 days, which is what I got, which is like for a video on Maindeck, that was a good video. And then what happens in the comments is also up in the air. What happened in this one is this became the Ask Dan How the Rules Work video. Yeah. It wasn't some of the comments were about the stuff I covered, but a lot of them were like, hey, how about this? How does this work? What happens when this happens? And I was like, well, sure. Like, why not? I'll start answering questions. So the common theme in those questions was that everybody just wanted to ask Dan how the rules work now, which I'm happy about. Perfectly happy to. I will sit there. I will answer rules questions and I have answered rules questions all day long the past 2 days. But I did notice some themes in some of those questions, yes, that I have ported over to the second video, which I'm going to do my absolute best. I think I have 2 Star Wars Limited videos planned for next week. And one of them is this. And then the other one is going to be a review of a third-party token producer that I was teasing you with.
Yeah. That's going to be cool.
So I'm actually going to get to play with those on Saturday at our local event. I'm going to just give them a shot, show everyone there, get people's thoughts on them, and then go and do a little review video. But when I do this rules video, here's some of the things I'm going to be including in it. So a little teaser for people.
Oh, nice.
Based on the questions I've seen, we're going to be talking number one about shields, because boy, howdy, people do not know how shields work. And that's cool. That's
that's great.
No shame whatsoever, because I totally understand where this confusion comes from. Shields have been used if you're new to TCGs, like straight up, like thematically, they could mean anything. They could block an attack. They could block a damage. They could block a destroy effect. They like, what is a shield? It blocks something. That's all we know, right? Thematically. But if you come from other card games, I think it even gets more confusing because in Destiny, a shield would prevent 1 damage. In Unlimited, it prevents a whole damage source, right? In Magic the Gathering, a shield would prevent either damage or a destroy effect.
Mm-hmm.
But in Unlimited, it does not do a destroy effect. It's just a source of damage. So people were like, can I vanquish something with a shield on it? What happens when Vader attacks something with a shield on it? How does his on-attack trigger work with the shield? Like, these are all really good questions. These are, if you're like a 30-year Magic or a 30-year just any TCG veteran, like you probably can figure those out like we are. But like, if you're not that, I get it. And so the first thing we're covering is shields. Like awesome. Straight up. We need to make sure that's clear. Another one, arenas and how effects work in them. And as soon as I read this question, someone was asking about Vader. They're like, can Vader's damage on attack, Vader leader's damage on attack, can it hit something in the space arena? Because I don't think it should. That doesn't make sense. And I was like, you know what? This question has been asked to me a million times before, including when I've run the demo with people. I should have known. This should have been in number 1. Right. This should have been in rules number 1, because it's just not, it's not clear how effects work and what arenas you can use them in, because people, again, they just approach with this like thematic idea of like, well, why is it that Vader can shoot damage at home 1 from the ground arena right now? Well, the answer is because Vader is badass and he can do whatever he wants.
That's what I was going to answer that for you, but I figured, you already had the answer for everybody. He's just awesome like that. Yeah.
But yeah, we'll talk about that. Another basic one. I got a bunch of questions on leaders. Like, do I have to pay the cost when I deploy them?
Sure.
Do they deploy ready? If I use the leader's ability first to exhaust it and then I deployed it, is it exhausted then? When they are defeated, are they exhausted already? And some of those are answered on the card, and that's and so some people get that, but we're just going to go over it. We're
think another thing that's with the leaders that came up locally is, do you play the leader? Because the guy was like a regional governor, and I was like, do you play the leader? And we had that conversation on how that works. So, and that's something I didn't think about till they asked, because they played the card and they were like, can I call your leader? I'm like, no, but that's actually a really good question.
Well, actually, technically they can.
Yeah, yes, you can say it, but I'm not playing the card. I'm still just going to deploy my leader.
Yes. Yeah. That's great. I'll definitely. I'm going to make a note. In fact, just to make sure I don't.
That was one that happened locally. And then a more nuanced interaction was energy conversion lab with Fett's fire spray. That was another fun one.
That is on the list too. I have 2 more categories currently. I'm going to add a couple more things here, but one is on simultaneous effects that have the same
competing timings, which is definitely something that I would want to talk about for sure.
Yep. And then on the flip side of that, when a single effect creates multiple triggers, things like, specifically people ask about Iden Versio and on defeat triggers, and does Iden see everything dying like to a super laser blast? Yep. That question comes up a lot too. So I'm going to have a little section. Those are going to be at the end of the video though, because those are getting advanced, right?
Right. Sure.
The first video was very much just like, so you've played your first game of Star Wars Unlimited. Here's what you need to know to make sure you continue to do things right or fix anything you did wrong. These are more like good, like kind of like a judge type questions that I think but they'll help people understand, how you're going to see Iden a lot. If you're playing at your locals, you're going to see a lot of Iden. You definitely want to know how some of that stuff resolves.
Yeah. Cool. I know that was a bit kind of a tangent on what we've been talking about, but I think it's really exciting to have rules conversation and stuff that really tickles a specific part of my brain. And I think it's something that everybody should be looking forward to you covering. And then I guess to kind of bring it all home, release weekend, it happened. Everyone had a great time. Some of us pulled showcases. Some of us won free deck boxes that they'd had no intention of buying. If you could take one card from your release event that you either thought overperformed, you enjoyed playing the most, or just impressed you, what would it be?
Well, so for me, I wasn't able to play in like a release constructed at all.
Sure.
All I can do is talk about my pre-release, but it happened on the
Yeah,
night
that's
of
fine.
release, so I'm going to count that.
But you
Because
can.
I've played actually in physical games, I've still played the most limited
Right.
recently. Because my locals are in a couple days. But I played a couple games with my Luke deck and I had a lot of fun. But at pre-release, so at a pre-release, I actually got to go 4-0, which I was very happy with. I was especially happy because I was playing a leader that I think is got to be lower on the list of the played leaders at pre-release events. And I was playing Hera Syndulla.
Oh, cool.
And Hera is so my choice to answer your question. My choice is Hera Syndulla because I think Hera is. I mean, a lot of people are, for constructed wise, they're rating her about appropriately. She's a decent deck. I don't think she's going to be top tier because she doesn't do quite as much as some of the other leaders.
Right.
But I also think people underrate her to some degree. And in limited, it's very pool based, very, very pool based, but she's still got a pretty good deploy side.
Yeah.
In a lot of pools. It's not that hard to actually have a pool that was decent. So as far as like specters that I was able to play using her front side ability, I got to play an Ezra. I was playing blue green. I had energy conversion lab as well, which was nice. So I got to play command with that. No, sorry, I'm flipped around. Not energy conversion lab. I had the shield, the blue one, shield one that I will probably have pictured in the episode here.
Yeah, you'll see the picture.
I can't remember its name right now. Security complex. So I had security complex, and everyone I played against was playing a 30 HP base, I believe. And multiple people sat down and they're like, "You're playing Hera and 25 HP," and I'm like, "Yep, I sure am." And in my green blue deck, I got to run Ezra and Zeb and Sabine. So I actually, in my uncommons, I got a few specters, which is nice. Of those, Sabine could have really been just about anything. She's just fine. Ezra was pretty sweet in one game, but it was just kind of a body in other ones. But my boy Zeb,
a monster.
Zeb did some work.
Zeb
did some work in the previous. He was a champ. The thing that I'm gonna actually cheat. I'm gonna take away. I'm gonna do one more card.
You can cheat.
That
it's your
took away. Yes. The other card that was overperforming in my deck that day was Recruit. Recruit costs 1, and it's look at the top 5 cards of your deck and search the top 5 cards of your deck for a unit, put it in your hand. It turns out in a 30 card format with drawing 2 cards per turn and still having a 6 card opening hand, you get to see a lot of your deck, and Recruit basically ensures that if you have any bombs in your deck, you can have it every single game in limited. So in my deck, I had Ezra. There won't be pictures for all these. I'm sorry. You're gonna have to go to SWODB or something and look them up. I had Ezra. I had Sabine. I had Zeb. I had 2 Yodas, including a hyperspace foil. I had some other. I can't remember. I had a couple other like unique characters that would come up from time to time. And I had home 1. And every game would just kind of come down to I played mid range. I just controlled the board. I just attack things. I'd flip Hera. Hera would attack things. Hera would make Yoda bigger. Hera would make Zeb bigger. That was scary. You don't want to make Zeb bigger. He gets really, really frightening. Hera made Ezra bigger once, I think. Hera would be annoying to deal with. I would do things like put Devotion on Hera to give her +1/+1 and restore 2 when she attacked, making her just harder to take down and more threatening. And eventually I just played home 1. I usually would bring back Yoda. I would then restore infinite health and then destroy them with a gigantic ship. And you get to do that really, really consistently in limited. So I liked Hera a lot because she was an immediate threat. She had to be dealt with because nobody wanted my unique things growing. I had enough unique things in my deck where I could grow them easily, she would take things out by herself, or she would make them throw things into her just to get rid of her, which bought me plenty of time to play home one and then win the game. And it was an effective strategy, and yeah, 4-0. So went very well.
Dang. Well, that sounds like a lot of fun. For me, I had a lot of fun with IG-88, actually.
Nice.
I had a super insane draft. We actually drafted. I had a super insane, like low to the ground kind of trooper tribal with a 1 admiral that gives the 3 experience tokens. I had Praetorius in that pool, so my mirror against Tarkin was super sweet. He had a cell block guard, and he put it up. I was like,
Praetorius against Tarkin is so gross.
He put the token on it, and I was like, cool, I'll take it. And then now I had more units to trigger IG-88's ability on my attack. It was an absolute stomp. And it was a lot of fun for me, but it was cool to play a leader that I was personally excited for, and that I know is going to struggle in some ways. Obviously, some of those stat line is not the best, but at the same time, for a limited environment, especially draft, I had so much fun drafting. I cannot tell you how much fun I had drafting and how much fun the table had drafting as kind of a way to get it into people's hands. And it was after we had no more pre-release kits. So we just decided, let's do a draft and see how it goes, and explaining how that worked to everybody, how we drafted the leaders, and then how we draft our pool and everything like that. And then, telling people what to avoid. I said, don't do like my first draft and not take somebody with villainy. I said, don't lock yourself out of something if you could help it. And it was just so much fun. I learned that
too the hard way.
Yeah. My very first, I was like, oh, these are all heroism leaders. And I had to pass so many good things. And then telling people my gospel the whole weekend is like, don't be afraid to pay the tax if it's good enough, especially on some of the tricks. I can't tell you how much, what is it? The one that exhausts a unit gives a shield. Is it the asteroid one? I forget its name. I'm not good with names. That beat in so many Vaders in my pre-release. They were like, I'm going to deploy. I'm like, I'll pay the tax on this card. And then I would kill it with my, the insane mono blue pool I had. But definitely the fun time I had with IG-88. I was really excited that I had so much fun with that, especially as the aggro player that my beating heart is. It was so much fun to just have this kind of low to the ground kind of red green strategy, and using Praetorius felt really cool. It was nice to just take things. I don't know. Sometimes you just got to steal.
Sometimes you just got to steal.
You just got to steal. Yeah,
that's got to be the quote of the episode.
Probably not words to live by.
I want to actually hang on. Speaking of IG-88, I got to pull up our local. He's got a YouTube channel as well. YouTube channel is called Battlewagon. We have a local person in the area who, at the first event we had on this Wednesday, just this past Tuesday. I think I've been saying Wednesday. I meant Tuesday. It doesn't matter. You guys don't care what day it was, but on Tuesday when we had this local event, he went undefeated playing IG-88 in Premiere. With, I believe there are no rares in this deck. I think it was a common, uncommon IG-88 deck, and he undefeated the tournament.
That's so good.
He actually has a video on it. I'm going to toss that video to Battlewagon's deck. Padawan, I think, is what people are. I don't know if this is the official term yet. In fact, I know it's not the official term, but if people are calling Padawan the like the popper.
Oh, that's cool, actually.
Stars Unlimited. Yeah, that's it. I mean, I'm kind of sad they're using it because that might mean Fantasy Flight can't feel like they can use it, but it's a really good name. So
no, I like that a lot. Yeah, they should.
I'm not going to say that if you're trying to win the first Soar Champs, this is the list you should bring. I would say probably get some rares at least and toss them in. But if you're looking for a budget aggro build and you want to surprise people by winning with IG-88, check out Battlewagon's list down in the profile below, in the description below, because it was just exciting to see.
Oh, that's super cool. I will actually check that out in a little bit. So yeah, I think we kind of covered all our bases and then some this week. I think we're just really excited to actually have this game in everybody's hands now. And as always, we like to wistfully talk our anecdotal nonsense about our experience and everything else. But I think most importantly, we really enjoy sharing it with everybody, with you guys and everybody giving us your feedback and talking about it. So before I get into our old whimsy sign off real quick, you got locals coming up on Saturday. You were just talking about it. What are you playing?
Yes. So I'm undecided exactly which deck I'm playing still. I think I'm going to take my Command Luke. It's the deck that I have the most fun playing. It is probably the first deck profile that we'll post on the channel, which might be the next week after that. A lot of people post deck profiles. A lot of people are playing online a little more. I like to get some real experience in. I like to be able to talk like I am an expert. I like to not just pretend I am one, but feel confident that I know what I'm talking about. So I need to get a little more play with it before I start doing some of these profiles. But it is an exceptionally fun deck. I tested it just a couple of games in real life now against an aggro Leia deck, and it performed, I will say, admirably, the way I expected it to. Like I said, I like to build the beat aggro, and I feel like this Luke deck is able to do that. And I think Luke is not a character that people are hyping up a lot right now in Premiere, but I hope to show people at least like a few reasons why you should, which is why I want to play it on Saturday. If I don't play, that's one of my 3 other decks that are currently built, but I think it'll be the Luke one.
Oh, well, that's good. That sounds exciting. I'm probably going to be playing Director Krennic Aggression. I've had a lot of fun with that.
Yeah.
Death Trooper is probably one of my favorite cards in the whole set.
It's a good card.
I'm like, oh, this is a card that's aggressively costed, has a good stat line, and can kill something, and then enables, grit on the guy on the bike. I just call him guy on a bike. I'll play him.
Guy on a bike. Scout.
Guy on a bike.
Or some kind of
guy on a bike.
Anyway, guy on a bike. Guy on a bike.
I don't see myself not playing cards like Power of the Dark Side anytime soon, because holy moly, that card's an absolute beating. So that's what you'll see me playing. I want to work on also this week. I'm going to actually try to finish it tonight. I'm going to try to build Cheer Aggression as well, because I've been playing Cheer Vigilance, which has been fun, but it's definitely just kind of your Voltron kind of deck. And I think I've kind of jacked up my early to mid game curve, so I need to look at that. But definitely probably playing Director Krennic at locals tomorrow, and I'm really excited.
Cheered Aggression gets to play Force Throw.
Yes, it does
pretty damn well.
Yes, it does.
Which is not bad. Not bad at all.
Yeah, I'm really excited. Again, I'm really excited to just get out there and play some more. So yeah, I think that's going to wrap it up for us this week. Really want to thank everybody for listening to us wistfully speak about this game we so totally enjoy, Star Wars Unlimited. I want to thank Dan for allowing me to come and chat with him for a little over an hour about this every so often. It means a lot to me to share my passions with you and with my friend Dan here. So for Jason and Dan of the Galactic Ambition, part of the Main Deck podcast family, I think that's about do it for us. I think we'll see you in 2 weeks from now to talk about who knows what, probably how bad my brews got beat up at locals or something like that.
And how well mine did.
Yeah, exactly. And how great Dan was doing, like he always is. Let's go. All right. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great one. Be good. Take care.
Bye, everyone.